Hi everyone, thanks for clicking on today's December daily entry. It's day 4 and I am getting on with a bit of a snowy theme. It's not strictly snow, but we had a bit of snowfall this morning, a flurry, but it's worth documenting. So we've got to find what we can this year, haven't we? So yeah, I'm doing a bit of a snowflakey theme. I did upload a video earlier today showing how I made some origami sort of 3D paper stars. And I've got my chocolate orange to hand because we need sustenance when we're journaling. So I searched earlier like some gift wrap ideas on Pinterest, and I came across the paper stars. I remember that I knew how to do that, so I thought I'm going to start making a bunch and I'm going to use them when it comes to gift wrapping my presents when I do that this year. And I made this envelope out of the same craft card, paper stock, that I was using earlier for the stars. So it was just on my desk, and I downloaded that template from Google and I used it to create the envelope myself. So I've got this image of Frosty from the little golden book, Frosty the Snowman, and I'm going to use that to stick my envelope down, and I'm just going to use him as a little bit of decoration. I could have used this as a pocket, and I was originally going to go with that, but there's another element that I wanted and I visualised it on the front of the envelope, so I thought I'd have both elements in because why not? So I've cut Frosty the Snowman down to a bit more of a manageable size for the spread while I figure out what I'm going to do with it, and I've pulled out this image that I took this morning of I had my mitten on and I was holding my hand out to catch some snowflakes, and I'm going to emboss around the edge of this. Now you can't really see this, the final result in this video, it doesn't do it any justice, but in real life it really is effective. So I'm just going around the edge with Versamark ink, and I'm going to use some silver embossing powder, which is by Paper Mania. I've had this forever, so any silver embossing powder will do the trick. And I'm just going to use that to go around the edge, and then I'll heat emboss it to give it a really nice silver shine. So I pulled out the snowflake stencil that I've got. I got it from Hobbycraft, and I'm going to stencil on some snowflakes around that image, so it kind of looks like the snowfall in the background of the image, like the snow was falling at the time of this image. Just kind of bringing that onto the page. So I'm using a little powder bag there. I think it's got corn flour in it or something along those lines, just to make sure that when I add the embossing powder, it doesn't kind of end up all over the page. Although that would work with this spread in terms of, like, you know, little flecks of snow in between the snowflakes, but I didn't want that. So I'm just squashing the Versamark ink into the stencil, and I will heat emboss this. So I've took a powder on, heat emboss it, and I'll do that a couple of times around so it will frame that photo that I've got. So a little tip for embossing in your junk journal. Obviously the journals are not flat, they're not smooth. I had bits underneath this, I had a pocket on the next page, I have a pocket on the next page. So I've added a book underneath just to really give it something to, like, for me to press into, because I found I actually did this once with that big snowflake in the top right corner, and it didn't actually transfer very well. So all I did, because obviously I've messed it up, was I just powdered over it and did it again. But having the book underneath made the biggest difference. I love seeing embossing powder turn, and that shine just comes through and it's just perfect. So this is the last cluster of snowflakes I'm going to do, and each time I'm just putting that image back on to make sure that I'm happy with with what's going to show through, the snowflakes that are going to be bordering that image, just to make sure that I'm getting a good placement for them to be really showcased. I want to see them. I think they look really effective, they look really pretty. And in fact, when I was looking at this image on the computer and trying to decide how big I wanted to print the image off, I visualised it exactly as it's turned out, so I'm really happy with this spread. I had to really hold this one down because the embossing powder was kind of making it want to turn up, but I managed to get it to stick, all was fine. And I have these little snowflakes, and I just wanted to add a little something. It's a really subtle snowflake when it's actually on the image. It kind of gets lost in the image, but I think it lends itself to the image itself. So I just took the little rhinestone off it, and I'm popping a little snowflake on the tip of my mitten. So it's time to work on the left hand side now. I've pulled my envelope back out, and I'm going to use this image that I've got from this Mr. Snow Mr. Man book, for like 25p in the charity shop. Fantastic find. And I saw this image and immediately thought this is going to be a journaling card. So I'm going to cut around him, but first I'm going to take it to the typewriter and do my typewriting, and by the magic of YouTube, here it is. So I'm going to cut around it, and I'm just gonna cut right along, and then I'll cut it to size when it's positioned on my envelope. And I'm just going to stick him down on my envelope as is and add nothing further to it because it really just looks so effective. And that image there with the text on it is like a real focal point. I think it looks really good. It's definitely turned out better than I expected. Like the way it looks all together, and cutting around the image and sticking it on the envelope just really looks so effective. I like it. So you probably noticed a lot of hand gestures and things going on in this video. I had every intention of just uploading it as is. I was talking through it and explaining what I was doing, and that was fine. There was nothing wrong with the footage, but it was about 50 minutes long. And for these daily uploads, if you're wanting to follow me through this series and see my daily uploads, I don't want to take up 50 minutes of your day. I don't think that's how it should be. That's not the idea here. Is to give you a quick snippet so you can have a quick look at what I've been doing. So I've managed to cut the time down to about 15 minutes, just under 15 minutes. So it makes it a bit more, watchable on a daily basis. So I've stuck this guy on, and look, you can just see how effective it really kind of highlights that image with the text on it. It doesn't need anything else on that page. I do need something inside, so I'm going to pull my stencil out again, and I'm going to add a snowflake, and that kind of ties the two pages together as well. So I've got snowflakes on both sides because the two styles are very different between the two pages. So I think just adding that little bit of snow, a little bit of embossing, really just kind of brings them both together. So with the snowflake being done, now we're pretty much coming to an end. I've just got to sort out the snowman image, the Frosty the Snowman, and I'm going to cut around, I'm going to fussy cut around him and the boy. Now I was undecided whether to keep it as a square, to just cut the snowman out, to have the boy, to then cut around the whole snowman. I was just a bit undecided, and it sort of came together as I went along. So I got to a point and thought, now I'm just going to carry on, and it just came together that way. So you can see me here just fussy cutting. I'm keeping the bottom pretty much intact. I'm just cutting around the sort of the snowman, the boy image, and I'm going to cut right to the end. I was going to leave this top bit on, and I kind of got to here and thought, shall I, shan't I? And then I just continued all the way around because I think it just looked best in the end. So I've stuck the envelope down, I've just stuck it down by the flap. I'm going to add some tinsel eventually, but I'm just going to stick on the Frosty and the boy image. And I don't mind that I can see some of that envelope flap. I thought that was going to bother me, it doesn't. So I'm just literally going to stick that down with some glue stick as well, after trimming this little bit here. I didn't want to stick some washi down. Normally if I have an image that goes right up to the corner or the crease, I would put some washi tape down just to make sure it doesn't lift or catch the image on the opposite side. But because this is quite a thin paper, it was perfectly fine just to glue down, and if it does lift it eventually I would just use some glue and stick it back down. And this kind of brings us to the home stretch. I'm just going to add a little bit of tinsel along that edge like I just showed you, with some Fabri-Tac, and I'm going to add my number for today, and that is the video or the spread done. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this one as well. I've enjoyed doing it, it's coming together really well. I'm excited to do tomorrow's, and I'm excited to talk to you again then. So I'll let you watch the end of the video. I won't waffle on anymore. And I will speak to you again tomorrow. Take care, bye for now.